Greetings to all of my viewers and subscribers and everybody who watches my channel. I have something very different tonight to show to you, and it's just one record and the unboxing of it and explaining it. This is going to be the showing of one of the most bizarre records that I own. I have been following this guy for probably over 30 years now, and this is going to be one of my most favorite records that I own and one of the most different. And it is in this box right here, but right here, that came from Amsterdam. I got it off of Discogs. There's only one that was available, and it was on the yellow vinyl. So thank you to those who got it pressed on yellow vinyl. It is an original, and it set me back 200 bucks, but I had to have it. So now I own it, and I'd like to present it to you. I have it playing up on my TV on YouTube, and they can't have any sound because I'll get a copyright strike. So I'm going to put a link at the bottom of this video in my description, and it'll be of both sides. One is, it is simple Headphone Mind, and the other side is Trippin' with the Birds. So the artist here, it's a collaboration of two individuals, two artists. One is Stereolab, and the other one is Nurse with Wound. Those who know who Nurse with Wound are, it is Steve Stapleton, for over 40 years now. I believe that Nurse with Wound started off as 3 individuals back in 1979. And the first record that I know of was Chance Meeting on a Dissecting Table and an Umbrella. They have very bizarre titles, but there's a reason for everything. The covers of Nurse with Wound's vinyl records and their CDs of their artwork is about as disturbing as the sound itself. Most of his stuff is not music. It is all these different sound effects of the most trippiest stuff I've ever heard of. And that's what makes it so interesting, and that's why I've been following them for so long. I used to own a couple other records. One was Sylvie and Bab's High Thigh Companion, and then Homotopie to Marie. That's a very dark one as well. And if you want to look at a video on YouTube, look up Nurse with Wound. I have plumbed this whole neighborhood. But prepare yourself. Once you hear Nurse with Wound stuff, it's almost like Eraserhead. There's no going back. Once you've seen it or heard it, you may be open your ears to something, to a whole nother world of, well, this stuff's considered, what was it called? A difficult. That's a genre. Difficult. I also call it disturbing, which is a good thing. It doesn't have to be bad. Just like dark wave, it doesn't have to be dark in a bad way. In fact, some of it's very beautiful. So I've thrived on this kind of stuff for so long, since I was in high school and listened to a college radio station to the very left of the dial on my little boombox I had in the dark. And it was a radio show called The Industrial Report with a guy who called himself Mark Darms. Interesting name. And he would play Nurse with Wound stuff. I would wait for it and record it. And that's what brings me to this record here. I'm not going to go too long on explaining stuff other than the record itself. And like I said, it's Steve Stapleton. He's done many, many different releases. Each one of them from the next is just really, really out there, but in a crafty and talented, skillful way of backmasking, reverse stuff, distorted sounds, voices, echoes, everything you could possibly imagine he has put together. And you just kind of wonder, where is he going with this? But by the time you're done listening, you kind of get it, and that is, this is what he developed. This is what was on his mind. I don't really follow a whole lot of other industrial artists other than Nurse with Wound, and particularly because it's not music. Most of this stuff is not music. And so therefore, what is it? It's just very interesting sound work. It is genius on a certain level to me of what he's done with it. I would love to see his studio. But I have seen where he lives in a video, somewhere I think out in Holland. I'm not sure if that's exactly right. But he looks like a very nice guy. He's just got a very interesting mind, very open mind, and he has his own sound. Let's get into this record now, because if you like listening to stuff in headphones, stuff that happens here and moves over here, something here and moves over here. Well, we know that's stereo, right? On this record is going to be one of the most experimental records I have ever heard of very crafted sound. So what does this sound like? We see the cover. It's got a guy looks like he may be from the 50s. Looks like an advertisement from the 1950s maybe, black and white. Looks like he's holding a cherry or some sort of nut that's smoldering. So I'm not sure what all that means, but the two tracks are this. It's a repetitive drum beat, just a tap and tap, 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 all the way through. A very almost hidden bass line, thumping bass line. Very light guitar, and then it has these radio transmitter sounds, almost distortion, just wheezing all the way through it, up and down, as if you're trying to tune a dial on a radio. You know that sound? And it's in and out and down all over the place, and very light, high string on the guitar. The first beginning voice says stereo, headphone, no, simple headphone sound. It's an electronic, high-pitched child's voice. You know how they do that, like Kraftwerk would do? And a simple headphone mind. And all throughout it has all these clicking, scraping of steel, it sounds like, echoes, sounds like horns, birds chirping. You're going to have to listen to it. Like I said, I'm going to link both sides in my description. I don't usually make a video for just one record. This one I had to. And why would I spend this much money on one record? Do yourself a favor, put some headphones on and listen to this all the way through. Sit in the dark, sit in a beanbag, sit in a sofa, put on a lava lamp, whatever you got to do, and let this record take you on a journey of audio bliss into some brilliance and just a bizarro world. Later on, the voice says, spiders. Okay? Later, it says, milky white. Then it says it again, milky white. It gets slower and slower. The music fades out, and you have just the voice, milky white. It gets slower and slower until it's so slow, it's just this very gruesome, scraping, sinister, dark voice that's barely even noticeable. Milky white. The flip side of the record continues from that voice, where it picks up the voice and the music continues. Now that's Tripping with the Birds. So, like I've been saying, it's not the most terrifying record I've ever heard. Some of his other stuff, I have thrived on it. There's something about his stuff, Steve Stapleton, Nurse with Wound, that I just will never depart from. I actually gravitate toward it. He has many other releases. One of them is, the Bottom Feeder. Oh, get ready for that one. If you look for that on YouTube, Nurse with Wound, the Bottom Feeder, the video that's been put with that, somebody put together something. It's got, looks like a one of those candle holders floating through a Victorian house with all kinds of old stuff that's been sitting around. But look for the Bottom Feeder by Nurse with Wound. By that time, if you listen to the Sylvie and Babs High Thigh Companion, You Walrus Hurt the One You Love, I have read in the comments you could play that at a children's party and the parents may never even recognize what's being heard. I'm not going to give it away and try to explain what is in that whole 15-minute piece, but that is considered as one of his more cheerful productions, as opposed to everything else, which is really like stuff that you would hear in an abandoned mine or a cave, with all kinds of sounds and sound effects and echoes and just strange stuff. So look into Nurse with Wound. Steve Stapleton, I don't know if you'll ever see this video, but I've got to hand it to you. You are a genius of sound work, what you have done over the decades. And for all the listeners out there, I'm going to go ahead and extend this invitation. Look for his stuff. Like I said, he seems like a very nice guy. I think he loves what he does, but he is a master of industrial and experimental and difficult sound. Now let's do the unboxing, and that is, look at this cover here. Fragile. Discogs, fragile. So here we go. Now let's look at the record. It comes in a plastic sleeve, but I'm going to go ahead and take this out. It's some kind of foil. I love import records. I'm really bored with American records. It's just a thick cardboard cover, picture cover, generic, company sleeve, whatever, and the record inside. I love imports. They're thin covers and wacky stuff like this. They really put more thought into it, of using foil as the cover. That's the back side. I don't want to wrinkle it. There's the cover right there. Simple Headphone Mind. Look at that. And then here's the back side. Dripping with the birds. And then Simple Headphone Mind title. And then here's the vinyl. Yellow, very rare to find. I mean, look at the original price tag on that, $125. I don't know if that's dollars, but being this is from Amsterdam, it could be euros, which is what I paid. But when I bought this, it was actually $150 in euros, 150 euros. Then plus the shipping, it came out to be about 200. But I had to have this. If there's any record out there that I'm going to cherish in my collection, it's going to be this one. And let me tell you, I will never get tired of listening to this. It will always be for generations to come. I think for those ever in the future, whoever want to listen to experimental sound, this will always be a top-notch production. I'll put that away later. That's the thing about plastic sleeves, is trying to get everything back into the cover is almost a nightmare. But thank you for watching. Simple Headphone Mind by Stereolab and Nurse with Wound. They're two different artists. Stereolab, I think the members are from the 60s. They got together and made Stereolab in 1990. I think that's right. Nurse with Wound is Steve Stapleton. So you put them together and you have just this brilliant performance. So thank you for watching. That's going to be probably my only video I'll ever make on just one record. So look at my channel if you like other artists that are of new wave, synth pop, dark wave, down tempo, trip hop, ethereal, and even goth rock. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel, hit the notifications button, and I'll get videos out to you when I produce them and publish them. And I'd like to hear from you too. If you're a fan of Nurse with Wound or Stereolab, industrial, avant-garde, dark wave, any of this kind of stuff, then I'd like to hear from you in the comments. And if you know this record, if you own it, or if you've heard of it, or are familiar with this artist, then let me know what it is that you like about them. Because their stuff is, everyone's different, but there's got to be a reason too why people listen to this kind of stuff. Is it a release of anxiety, stress, tension, or going to a different place, letting your mind go to an open area that most people don't go? I don't know, a little bit philosophical there, but I do it just to let go. And that's what Steve Stapleton does, especially on this record, is lets me go somewhere else. So thank you for watching, and I appreciate all your support. Thank you, watchers. Bye-bye.